Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to A Casual Analysis, a series where we analyze and discuss gaming trends old and new. This video is part 2 of our analysis of New World, and our journey to understand exactly what occurred to make this MMORPG as popular as it was. In part 1, we explored the MMO market and New World's place in it. Now let's dive in and start discussing the details of the game and its path to the spotlight. New World didn't launch as a surprise. It didn't spring from the shadows as a hidden gem. It was announced by Amazon at TwitchCon back in 2016, along with 2 other games, Breakaway, a team-based brawler, and Crucible, a team-based shooter, like Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch. However, both of these games would end up cancelled, and Amazon would bring the teams over to focus on New World, so it was very well known that Amazon was working on an MMO as their prominent title. In July of 2021, New World launched as a closed beta. Overall, the quality of the gameplay was pretty average, but there were a number of issues that testers reported. Many had to do with bugs, of course, but some were more fundamental issues, like gameplay design flaws, and even technical issues that caused testers' graphics cards to fail and break down. Yes, the issues with the game were very obvious, and the gameplay design was heavily flawed. But Amazon had already fulfilled its goal: marketing. When the beta came out, you can be damn sure that the gaming universe was force-fed New World images. Streamers, content creators, news outlets played the game extensively and reported on every bit of it. Do a single search on New World in the YouTube search bar and see just how many content creators published videos before the game even launched. The hype had begun. But it wasn't just MMO players that were excited about the game. It was no secret that Amazon had a new MMO coming out, and in fact, even people outside of the MMO space had started to take note of it. It was a popular topic in the gaming landscape as a whole. Amazon had taken over the online shopping industry, dominated the ebook industry, and changed the entire process for very small businesses to buy and sell goods. They deliver groceries, distribute and create movies and TV shows, provide a platform to purchase and listen to music, not to mention that they have their own cloud computing infrastructure, Amazon Web Services, that many top companies, including Netflix, use today. Amazon is in so many industries that stock prices shift just at the mention of Amazon trying something new. Now they want to get into gaming? Other publishers should quiver in their boots, because the big bad Amazon is coming to get your market share. And then, New World launched. Now, I want to preface this section by stating that every launch goes through some problems. No launch of any product has ever gone absolutely perfect. The fact that New World had launch date issues does not mean the game is terrible or that Amazon has poor game leads. It also is my opinion that Amazon did their best to remedy a lot of the issues rather quickly, so good on them. However, it doesn't absolve them of the fact that they did have issues with the game and chose to launch anyway. We as gamers have paid them our money, so we have now paid for the right to criticize the hell out of it. So please do. Criticize it into the ground. I've played it for about 100 hours, and I have my own critiques for playing it at launch and then in the weeks following. Even though the most talked about failure of the launch was the queue and the absurd wait times to start playing, I urge you to also critique the fact that the questing system was added so late in the dev timeline that no one even bothered to make more than 2 types of tasks. Every single quest is either kill X or gather X. Variety is definitely needed in future updates, but I am getting ahead of myself. I will offer my short review of the game later in this video, but I want to focus on the launch for a bit longer. I want to take this moment to try and persuade you that the infamous queue times at launch for New World was actually a benefit to Amazon. I have said it before and I will say it again. MMOs live and die by their player base. New World needed the hype during the beta to get the game off the ground, but having all of these queues now solidifies the game in the eyes of the public. It shows in a quantifiable number how popular the game is and how many people want to play it, in big, bold numbers on your screen. Do you want to play New World? Well, so do a million other people. Please wait in this digital line for 8 hours while we find you a spot on the server, and meanwhile, tell your friends how long you had to wait in a queue and show them how desirable our game is. Soon, the pictures of queue numbers were uploaded everywhere, and everyone on the internet was made painfully aware that New World was popular. It was no longer just a game, but a social phenomenon that every gamer needed to be a part of. I'm not saying that Amazon did it on purpose because I wouldn't know that, but this is just a clear example of how bad press can be great publicity. They did fix the queues rather quickly and opened up more servers though, so at least they were ready in case their popularity caused people to spend an entire day waiting in line. Regardless, at some point 913,000 people were able to play at the same time, which is quite an accomplishment. I am also certain that there were other reasons why they kept server populations so low, potentially because they stress tested it and saw that resource nodes or quest mobs would have too much competition. Maybe they didn't want so many people fighting for spots in faction wars, or having huge gang wars between factions at all. Maybe their servers just weren't built to handle that many people in them. I mean, you can technically see players across pretty long distances, so it would be pretty rough on GPUs if there were thousands of more player characters to render. There are plenty of reasons why the queues could be so long, but I beg you to look past all the memes and the complaints on Twitter and see the game past the login issues. As of 10.19, there are already 2 pretty significant patches being made to the game to fix bugs and other issues that plagued the game at launch. I'm not trying to defend the decision to release a game half complete, but that does bode well for the amount of attention Amazon is giving New World. But again, there are plenty of issues to be fixed. Regardless of the gameplay, I would immediately call New World a success. Only time will tell if they continue that success, but amassing that much excitement and attention before launch day would be considered a success to any game designer. That is just my opinion, but let's review the game for a bit. I wanted to give this topic its own section because I think it is a larger conversation that many gamers have opinions on. The argument of whether a game's quality is heavily impacted by how good the graphics are has been a hot topic for the lifetime of video games as a whole. Depending on your stance on the subject, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild might be a game that you never touch, even though The Witcher was one of the best games you've ever played. The Witcher is an epic RPG that has a much more realistic style of graphics, while The Breath of the Wild is an epic RPG that uses cel shading, almost cartoon style of graphics. Of course, there are other factors that come into the picture when comparing games, including gameplay and story, but to many people, graphics are one of those defining factors in how they feel about a game. To these gamers, the brighter and cartoonish graphics that come with many Nintendo games are a turnoff to the company as a whole. So much so that they have little to no interest in any of Nintendo's greatest franchises. So let's bring this conversation back to MMOs. Each of the most popular MMOs today have a very different approach to graphics. World of Warcraft has a very stylized form of fantasy realism, with gigantic limbs and shoulder armor that is larger than the character's body. It is very specific, but even as technology got better and the graphics got sharper, the style remained. The same can be said for Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy, as a series, has a very stylized approach to graphics as the game was created in Japan. All of its characters follow a similar style to that of anime, which has either captivated players or had them turn away before even trying out the gameplay. Finally, the Elder Scrolls Online games has a very realistic style of graphics. The online game takes the same graphical style as the popular Elder Scrolls series and applies it to the MMO world. Each one of these games has a very different style of graphics, but with a good GPU and max settings, they all look pretty amazing. Their graphics stand out, have amazing styles, and are very recognizable. New World falls into the category of having a more realistic style of graphics. At max settings, it's actually quite amazing. I personally love the work that whoever was in charge of lighting did, because running up any path to a sunrise or sunset, breaking behind a mountain, or shining through the trees is breathtaking. The textures of the environment are captivating, the detail of the grass bowing to the wind is immersive and fun to watch. Player characters are actually fairly animated, and combat actions are as well. I still really like the look of ice gauntlets and how you always have an ice crystal ready to launch. The only issue that this causes then is how it affects your personal gameplay. Unfortunately, my graphics card has not been updated for about 5 years, and for some reason, even though my Nvidia graphics card has been able to handle every game thrown at it since then, New World likes to make me browse Amazon to think about buying a replacement. That's a brilliant sales tactic. Too bad graphics cards are almost as expensive as buying a new computer. In all seriousness, I will only have the graphics on high when I'm consciously choosing to look at something that I think might look amazing with their graphics engine. If not, I set it all the way to low, which honestly is not that bad. Low graphics still look pretty good in this game, but you will always have the thought in the back of your mind that it could look better at the cost of personal lag. Like I mentioned before, personal lag mixed with unfortunate server lag makes the game almost unplayable, especially walking through any settlement. So, low settings it is. I feel like it's gotten better recently, but maybe that is due to the server populations being spread out across the map rather than concentrated in specific locations. However, walking through settlements still makes my built-for-gaming desktop burn up. But enough about graphics. Let's start talking about the gameplay.